Welcome to Franklin Upfront Live, an audio file for audiophiles. Today is Monday, March 13th, 2023. I'm your host, Mr. Franklin. Welcome. And I'm anticipating that we're going to be having a very good show in store for you today. And I hope that this week's message will edify the heart and ear of the listener. This week's topic: the importance of having a strong support group. Now, with that said, have you ever been involved in a situation as such where you're in a verbal altercation with people, unprovoked verbal altercation, and when you answer them, you realize that I'm sorry, hold on one moment. Okay, yes, welcome back. I'm sorry, yes. When you, let us start over. I do apologize. I seem to be having some technical issues here. So you're having an unprovoked verbal altercation with someone, and when you answer them, by the way, let's say for example that it's a group of you. You think that they're your friends, but when the ringleader of the group, because you don't realize that they're secretly envious and that they're bullies and that they have targeted you. So when they start talking shit now and you answer them, all the people in the group who were silent, who you thought were your friends, are jumping on that other person's silence. Very obvious that that's what they're doing. Very obvious. Well, the people who you thought were your friends, they're not your friends. They're the friends of the person who's targeting you. They are somehow either loyal to or afraid of that person or both. And for whatever reason, they decide to justify that person's abuse against you. Well, let me tell you something very important. If you were a policeman, or if it was their boss at work, or a judge, or the president, or a legislator, or someone with real power, they wouldn't even have to think twice about whether to target that person. They just wouldn't target them. They target you because they feel that you're powerless. They target you because they feel like, hold on. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Let's continue here. So as I was saying, they pick on people who they feel can't fight back or won't fight back. A very good example of that is the late Shankila Robinson, who went on a vacation in October with people whom she thought were her friends. And while there, one of them decided to attack her out of no other reason but envy. Any unprovoked attack has to be envy. What other motivation could they have but envy? And of course, keeping in mind, unprovoked. So, one particular friend, friend in air quotes, kept telling her, Shankila, why don't you fight back? You should fight back, fight back. First of all, that friend, once again, air quotes, that so-called friend wouldn't be telling you fight back. That friend would be fighting on your behalf. If some crazy person is attacking you unprovoked, that friend would be fighting on your behalf. That's not a friend. That is not a friend. But even so, he has a point. Even though he should be saying, he should be trying to stop the attack instead of saying fight back, he has a point. Because there are some who can fight back and won't fight back, and you have to fight. You're being attacked, you have to fight. So, but even so, that friend has a point because the person being attacked, sometimes they have the strength or the power or the influence to stop their attack. And they choose not to use it, and therefore they allow themselves to remain vulnerable and allow evil to flourish. You give the enemy power. Some people are acting way above their pay grade. And you give them power. When you don't, do your research, and if you can't fight them on your own, so here's my point now, because there's some who have the power to fight back on their own. Let me tell you something. Everybody who's coming under attack by the enemy has the power to fight back, whether on your own or to find people who will help you fight your battles. Not fight them for you, but help you fight them. There's a difference. See what I mean? Sometimes The only support you need is the Creator. God will send the right people to help you fight your battles, especially when a bunch of cowards gang up on you and want to bully you. But understand we all have the power to fight back when we are under attack. So, where am I going with this? The importance of having a strong support group. We need, as human beings, we're vulnerable creatures. And as such, we need to practice interdependence. We need to depend on each other. There is no such thing as true total independence. I think the game has been rigged from day one that we should all depend on the Creator to send the right person for us to practice interdependence with. So we could all depend on each other. No one is truly fully independent. Not truly. We may have certain leverages in which we may appear independent at times, but no one is truly independent. And if you don't know that, if you think you're independent, you have not truly come under attack yet. And one day when you do come under attack, you're gonna wish you had allies to help you fight your battles, but not fight them for you. That friend who was telling Shankita to fight back, why don't you fight back? That friend, his mentality is, I don't want to fight your battles for you, that's your fight. A real friend is, let me help fight your battles alongside you. Not that I'm fighting them for you. I understand that I'm not fighting your battles for you, so let me help fight your battles alongside you or call someone who can help you. That's what a real friend would say. A real friend wouldn't just tell someone, fight back when they are dazed and confused and out of it and maybe don't even have the strength to fight back, maybe don't know how to fight back, maybe was never taught how to stand up for themselves. Many people many narcissistic parents deliberately raise their kids to be vulnerable on purpose. So they don't know how to use interdependence, use the leverage of a support group to safeguard them from harm. Many people were never taught that. They don't know that. You see what I mean? So telling them to fight back when they obviously don't even know how, was never taught how, or they're obviously too confused to think for themselves. Which, by the way, Shankita was coming out the shower, so she was dazed and confused, and she wasn't expecting that attack. That attack, I should say. She was dazed and confused. She wasn't expecting the attack. So when the attack happened, she was caught off guard. So she probably didn't have time to think. She's naked, embarrassed, coming out the shower naked, embarrassed, and someone who's supposed to be a friend is attacking you, coming out the shower naked. She's embarrassed, caught off guard, maybe afraid, trying to win the approval and validation of people who she probably suspected didn't like her from day one. And thought that if she showered them with gifts, it would make a difference. It didn't. The first thing you should know about somebody who's jealous, all the good you do means nothing to them because quite often they could have more than you materialistically, but what they're jealous of is your spirit. And you having more than them simply proves You having a good soul simply proves that you have more than them. So that's probably the source of their jealousy, the source of their envy. So she is afraid. Deep down inside, she knows the truth because no evil can take place on earth. No evil can manifest on the face of the earth unless there are red flags first. It's a part of the this thing called a demonic contract that most evil people, the reason why many people nowadays can't give you justice, can't be nice to you, is because they're under a demonic contract or spell that prevent them from being nice to you. They gain all the materialistic advantages at the expense of their very soul. They sell their soul for fame and fortune, basically. And if they're nice to you, one of the terms and conditions in which to receive materialistic advantages in the world is they can't be nice to you. They have to be mean to you. So if they're nice to you, they will lose their benefits. They will lose all their little trinkets and their toys. They don't want that. They already sold their soul. They don't want to lose the very thing that they sold their soul for in the first place. So they have to be mean to you. Then they meet a genuinely good person. They envy them. They want what they have. They befriend them with the worst of intentions, with the intent to get close enough to sabotage, to kill, steal, and destroy, to sabotage and steal from that person, and destroy the rest so that person can't have anything. So quite often it's very mean spirited. And deep down inside, so because of that now, and one of the terms and conditions of the demonic contract that these people sign to gain fame and fortune on the earth is that they cannot manifest any evil without red flags. There has to be warnings, but they have the flexibility of being subtle with it. And that's why you find often that these people are fake because the fake is a subtlety. Them being fake is the subtlety to warn you that something is wrong. Meanwhile, in the home that you were raised in, you're being programmed to normalize toxic trauma bonds so that you miss the red flags. One of their terms and conditions for signing a demonic contract: sell their soul to Satan. That's number one. Number two, be mean to people, don't be nice. And number three, warn them. Give them obvious red flags, not obvious. Give them subtle. Give them red flags, but you have the flexibility of subtlety, which I recommend you use. Those are their conditions. But they're working as a pact because over in your camp now, your parents and them are training you to miss the red flags by normalizing abuse and toxic trauma bonding. So when you go out in the world at long last, you're vulnerable because these fake people see that you were not taught properly. That's why they try and conversate with you first to feel you out to see where your headspace is at. So they know what tactics to use on you. Because they know that they're working as a team and they know that someone did a number on you. And they're trying to see how they did a number on you. Which is quite often why they start talking shit so you could defend it by revealing more about yourself and your background and your character profile. So they really know how to finish what your parents may have started. What your first girlfriend, love interest may have started way deep, deep down in their background in their early life. You manage to escape and they want to finish you because they want, when they sell their soul, they want to become high ranking demons in the spiritual realm. You have to understand people like Shankila and them, and even myself, we have to fight demons. Even now on my job, people are trying to railroad me, and I have to be fighting demons constantly. So the moment you're chosen by the Creator and you accept the call, the warfare becomes absolutely insane. It becomes ridiculous. So when back to these people now, um, the people who sign demonic contracts, people who can't wait upon the Lord, Isaiah 40 verse 41, whatever it is, says, "He who waiteth upon the Lord will renew their strength. They will mount up with wings as eagles. They will run but not be weary. They will walk and not faint." These people now who are your enemies sign demonic contracts because they don't want to wait upon the Lord. They're faithless. The reason why the Creator have us wait is so that we can demonstrate faithfulness and believe in Him. Belief kills and belief cures. Whatever we don't believe in doesn't exist. And because God respects free will, He will hide Himself from you. Not that He doesn't exist, but He will hide Himself from you until you believe in Him. And you must demonstrate that through tests of faithfulness, which is why He'd rather have you wait. But those who are faithless and impatient will sign demonic contracts to gain a couple of toys and trinkets in this life at the expense of even their very soul. Ancient Chinese proverb, no, I'm sorry, ancient native Indian proverb. There are two wolves within you, one good, one evil. Which one wins? Oh, yeah, they're always at war, perpetually at war among themselves. The two wolves, I mean. Which one will win? A boy once asked his grandfather. To which the grandfather then replied, "The wolf that you feed." We all have good and bad in us. Some people choose to feed their dark side more. Some people choose to feed their good side more. So we all have souls, and our souls come from the Creator above. But our egos that causes the impatience and the faithlessness comes from the enemy, Satan. And they despise their Creator so much that they are willing to destroy their very soul that comes from the Creator for a couple of toys and trinkets and sign demonic contracts to be mean to their brothers and sisters in spirit. That alone by itself makes these people your enemies. The enemy is out there. Scripture says that the Creator hardened Pharaoh's heart. And I'm saying, no, he didn't. Pharaoh was already hardened. Just that God was with him until the Israelites were safe. And then when they chose to remain in comfort, God removed himself and removed the benevolent element so that Pharaoh would now be left up to his own devices, revealing his true self so he could be truly who he has always been, which is just pure evil. To kind of motivate the Israelites into putting their trust in the Creator through Moses to lead them back to their promised land. Right? And then while they're going through the promised land now, they start rebelling, they become disillusioned. While they're going through the Sinai desert on their way to the promised land, on their way to Mount Sinai, they're going through the Sinai desert on their way to Canaan, the promised land, for 40 years, I believe. They were ancestrally in captivity in Egypt for 400 years, but all they have to endure is 40 years and they're already spiraling out of control, becoming disillusioned, losing faith and disbelieving Moses and Aaron while going through the Sinai desert for 40 years. And the scripture says that the Creator unleashes poisonous snakes on them. And I'm like, no, he didn't. The Bible is sounding more anti-God in this context because the Creator is now being depicted as being this angry, jealous God who just wants to punish you for not serving him or worshiping him. And I'm like, no, he's just respecting your free will. He's taking a distance until you come around. Observing the situation, of course, to make sure that you're fine. We can't take the Bible too literally, especially the Old Testament, where God is depicted as being more draconian in his approach. So it isn't that the Creator unleashed poisonous snakes on the Israelites going through the desert. It is more that evil is out there regardless, and without protection, without your support group, you become vulnerable and susceptible to attack. You become not only vulnerable, you're already naturally vulnerable. You're made of flesh and blood and bones. So we don't have powers. Therefore, we're naturally vulnerable by ourselves, as it is, only to now become more susceptible than we already were to attack because we became disillusioned and lost our support group. See what I mean? So, as I was saying, evil is out there regardless. Evil is going to attack us regardless. God doesn't allow bad things to happen to us. Evil is naturally out there regardless. It is up to us to choose whether we want protection or susceptibility. What do you want? I would choose protection because, once again, evil is out there regardless, and no evil can manifest on earth without red flags. So one of the conditions of the enemy's demonic contract that they sign why they made us naturally enemies in the first place, because you choose to be faithful and they are naturally faithless and impatient. One of their conditions is that no evil can manifest without red flags first. They're going to be subtle from their end. And from the end of your caregivers who were programming your mind, you were trained to ignore red flags and to normalize abuse as love, as friendship, as camaraderie, as alliances, or whatever it is. As a sidebar, yesterday afternoon I was listening to a YouTuber. The channel is called The Royal We, and his name is Kevin. And he was once again breaking down the meaning of love. And he was saying, basically, in a nutshell, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, love is a double edged sword. Love can be used out of context, love can be twisted to normalize abuse. And he flashed back to his youth where his mother and stepfather were always constantly fighting among themselves. And his mother one day asked the stepfather, "If you hate me so much, why don't you leave?" And the stepfather replied, "Because I love you." So some people are taught to accept that love is pain, love is hurt, love is rejection, love is abuse, and none of those things are true. But how do you argue with somebody, asked Kevin, when they say, "Because I love you"? How do you argue with that? I'll tell you how you argue with that. Just because my response would have been, just because you love me, even first of all, that's not true. You're a lying son of a bitch. But even if that was true, just because you love me doesn't mean I have to accept it. I don't have to accept your love. I don't have to accept anything that's bad for me. I decide what's good or bad for me. And if what you're offering me is bad for me, I don't have to accept it. That's how you deal with that. Don't tell me you can't argue with that. I just told you how you argue with that. You don't decide what's good or bad for me. Even if you are right, I don't have to accept it if I know it's bad for me. And that's why you shouldn't seek the validation of other people. Because when you don't seek others' validations, that is when you have the independence of deciding for yourself whether something is good or bad for you, and whether to accept it no matter what label they slap on it. Love, my conclusion based on that video, love is just a label. It's a label that people abuse and slap on things to give them the leverage or the um, freedom that they need to do what they do, to do what they want to do to people. It's just a label. So, and I already told you that it is better to be respected than loved. So stop seeking out or searching for love. Search for respect instead, and half of your troubles will be gone, and you'll be fine. Search instead for respect, not love. Because I feel it's more difficult to abuse the word respect than the word love. But then again, you never know. There's always some nutcase out there in the world who will reach a whole new level of crazy and step their game up to twist that word around too. But in the proper context, respect is more difficult to abuse. Respect. When you seek respect versus love, half your problems are taken care of because you are in charge of the kind of life experiences that you endure. And ultimately, you should respect yourself enough to not allow someone to use the word love as a label to disarm you, to get you to accept disrespect. Never. The solution is to respect yourself enough to not accept anything that's not good for you. But many of us, the point is that many of us were trauma bonded with the false narrative that abuse is love. And the episode I listened to from the Royal We reminded me of that. So, many of us go out there in the world already vulnerable but not susceptible. And we tend to attract only the worst of people at first. At first. Because we really don't know any better. And then with us not knowing any better, we're told that we're strong, we're independent, and that we know everything. And we feel within ourselves because every young 18, 19-year-old coming of age already has an ego and feel they know everything. And even though it goes against their narrative, if they feel, if your caregivers feel it will help to trip you up in life, they will allow it to happen. They will allow you to harbor these ideas that you know everything. No, you don't. An 18 or 19-year-old doesn't know everything. You may know a lot of things, but not everything. And because you don't know everything, and because everything that you know so far is based on twisted narratives and things being used out of context, when you start meeting people, we tend to attract the worst of people at first. And because we don't know what friendships are or what love is or anything of that nature, people often don't befriend us with the of intentions, the absolute worst of intentions. They often have their own selfish motives for befriending us. And when they do, it is often out of jealousy and spite for our potential and our capabilities. And so when they do attack us unprovoked, all the red flags were there, but we didn't see them because we didn't know what they were, because often didn't know what we were looking for. And often then they were there and we saw them, but we ignored them because we weren't even looking for red flags because we never suspected that our friend could be so evil. hate us so much. And as such, Shakira Robinson ignored all the red flags. She was ashamed of her nakedness, caught off guard, had no support group. All of her friends were the supporters of the ringleader of the bullies who targeted her. And she thought she could buy their love and approval and validation, and you can't, because that's quite often the source of their envy, and what you're doing means nothing to them. They will take it, don't get me wrong, they'll take it all right. They're very shallow, so they'll take it. And money hungry and greedy and all those things. So they'll take all of your gifts and everything, but it means nothing to them. Absolutely nothing to them. So they'll take it and still be the crap out of you and still and take even more than you gave them because they know it would hurt you. And they'll do it just to hurt you because they know it would. And they wanted you to see that they wanted you to they wanted their face to register in your memory so that you know that it was them all along because they feel that that's what would truly hurt the most. And once again, if it was a policeman or a judge or their employer or a legislator or the president, they wouldn't do it. They do it a little old you because they feel or they know that you either can't or won't fight back, and that if you try, they have all the support group and you have none. And that's why quite often when they go after people, they target people who are loners, who have no friends, no social group, or anything of that sort, no support group, because they figure no one likes you anyway. Who would defend you? They always look for the vulnerable people because they're cowards. So they deliberately look for vulnerable people who they know have no support group or who wouldn't fight back or who's timid or afraid. It's like the pedophile who goes to the kid's playground to look for the kid who's isolated, alienated, have no friends. And they befriend that kid to get close to the kid to molest them. And because the kid is so desperate for some kind of validation, they don't see the red flags and think, wait, no grown up should be trying to befriend a kid. There's something wrong with that. A grown up can't be your friend. They're not the same size as you. There has to be there's social boundaries of respect and all those things that you shouldn't have with your peers. Only your peers can be your friends. You see what I mean? The kid doesn't know, or he misses the obvious red flags and he thinks that being friend with a grown up is normal. I'm not saying you can't have a respectful exchange with kids. I'm not saying that. I'm saying to be friends, no. Uh-uh. There's something wrong with that. But the kid doesn't know that because A, he was never taught that. B, he's desperately seeking validation. And predators in general they read from the same playbook. So they use the same tactic and target people who are isolated. Whether they target our kids or adults, they target people in general who are generally isolated. People who have no support group, who they feel no one would rush to your aid if you came under attack. Let's target this guy. He's a loner, right? If you have no friends, get some friends, or pray to God to send you the right friends who won't allow that kind of disrespect to happen to you, who will defend your name in your absence. You know how you know you have a really good friend? When your back is turned and they defend your name in your absence. People talking shit and they don't play that shit. They're like, hey, you can't talk about him in his absence. He not here to defend himself. Wait till he gets back. And when you get back, they're like, hey, dude, you're not gonna believe what they were saying about you just now. And they're like, yo, this dude was out here talking crazy about you just now, bro. That's a friend. That is a friend. When you're doing well in life, everybody want to be your friend. They want to get close for the clout and a little bit of the crumbs that fall off your table, hoping it will fall in their mouth, and then pick to their mouth, and the brother mouth, and the cousin mouth, and everybody mouth. They want little toys, trinkets. They want all of those things to rub off on them if they get close to you. Everybody want to be your friend, but who's willing to defend your name behind your back? Hmm? Who's willing to polish your legacy when you pass away? When you can't defend yourself? Who? Whoever that is, they are your friends. And with that said, we take a break right here on this program. When we come back, we'll be taking your calls, and I hope you join me then. Keep it locked on Fact and Upfront. Welcome back to Frank on the Front Live, an audio file for audiophiles. This week's topic: the importance of having a strong support group. We have now reached the call-in segment of this program, and the rules for calling the show as per usual. Please be mindful of others who are calling the show. I will allow about 10 or 15 minutes for each caller. Please stick to the topic and try not to ramble. And please be respectful. Any rude comments, racist, sexist, ageist, weightist comments, disparaging comments will be edited, will be muted, and you will be I will cut you off the program. So while we wait for callers to enter the program, to come on in and so we can have discourse in this on this topic, I will continue saying what I was saying in the previous segment. I was context building as to how predatory people with malicious intent often target people who are isolated, who are socially isolated, who they feel have no support group or defenses. They target them. They are creeps. The creeps study them. If they're targeting a guy, there's always a pretty girl in there who's judging him, and she's like his motivation. She's there to disarm him and motivate him to allow them to do this to him. She's a creep too. She's evil too. And she's the one who's often distracting him with stupid questions and all kind of shit like that. It's a wonder how her beauty didn't save her from stupidity. You think that beauty is an impediment to or an immunity from stupidity? No. It's often a leverage to cover up the stupidity of such a female. And they're hoping you would fall for that. And you have to be strong because many men fall for that. So, as far as the girl is concerned, listen, the solution is to know that there are 8 billion people on earth and there are more women than men. So that stupid evil bitch is just one person less that you have to deal with, and there's more out there. There's plenty of fish, like what the website suggests, and like what many mothers and grandmothers have had to tell heartbroken sons and nephews and grandsons throughout the years. That's where the name of the website comes from. The encouraging words of the grandmother counseling the heartbroken grandson, son, nephew, whoever it is, right? There's plenty of fish. So forget that stupid bitch. That was one member of the human race who honestly, her father should have left her in a condom and left the condom in a wrapped up in toilet paper and dumped in the damn trash somewhere because she's a waste of space. She and the people who she joined who's doing that to you. So those are a few people we can live without. If they were given life only to waste their gifts and the Creator's will for their lives and use it to torment innocent people and target them, then they have become a waste of space. And their dad might as well have left them in a condom. I'm not gonna lie. If you're heartbroken, imagine their creator who had high hopes for them and high expectations for them to do good in life. And look at what they squandered their lives doing instead. If you're heartbroken, he's heartbroken. And that's not to invalidate what you have been through. You have been through a lot. Okay? So, remember, there's plenty of fish. Don't let your attraction, your superficial attraction towards this female be the reason why you allow her to neutralize you and allow these creeps to attack you. There is plenty of fish. Plenty of fish. I told you, take a trip. When you listen to my show, let me hypnotize you. There's plenty. You have to inject humor into these things because otherwise very sad. let me hypnotize you. There's plenty of fish. Plenty of fish. Anyhow. So you know when they have, you know what you should do? When they gang up on you and it's obvious that they're a support group and not your friends, it's obvious. That would have been a very good time to, if you have no friends, that would have been a very good time to pray to your creator. First of all, if all they're doing is talking shit to and around you, about you, disengage. If they're following you when you're disengaging and they're that crazy, you start praying. God will send even a stranger to help you. You do have resources. Use your resources. Use your support group. God will send even a stranger to intervene and save you. Let me tell you a story. When I was 16, I was walking to the bus stop from school. This is in Jamaica. This is in downtown Kingston. This is East Queen Street, Blake Road, South Camp Road, all those places. I'm walking to go downtown to take a bus to go home. And I didn't know I was being followed. I look around, every now and again I look around, and when I look around, I see an obvious careless boy, typical Jamaican dirty careless boy, follow me. And he held me up and tried to rob me. And sure enough, I stopped in front of this blue building on East Queen Street. And two armed guards saw what was happening. Private security saw what was happening. Draw for them gun. Them have some long gun, you know. So draw for them gun and come to defend me. So the daughter boy, for sure you hold him a coward, you know. The daughter boy get afraid and run and say, it's a mistake. I told me I make a mistake, and run, God, you know. And the guards advised me to walk on the other side of the street or to walk with friends and company. So I'll be less susceptible to attack. Or change up my route or a couple of things to keep safe because people are crazy out there. But to show you how most of these 87s, as Patrick Watch called them. They're cowards, man. The boy get afraid and run because, man, the security guards and the armed guards who were protecting the private property, who didn't have to intervene, but because they're good Samaritans, all the goodness of their heart, protected me, a schoolboy coming home from school, being held up and robbed, and exposed the cowardice of the robber. He's a coward. So that's what I mean. Help will come from unexpected places if you're under attack and you're in real imminent danger. But apart from that, if all they're doing is talking shit, disengage, walk them, leave them and walk away. And if you're in a professional environment, if you're at work, your boss is going to want to know why why you left your post. So tell him why. Or don't leave your post. Go somewhere private where they can't reach you and text your boss and tell them, boss, I'm having a problem. This is what's happening. Ever since I got here, they're talking shit. You need to document when something is happening to you in a professional environment. Oftentimes, we are familiar with not being believed, so we were silenced and we continue doing that. But there has to come a time when you should break your silence and tell your story. Put your story on the record at the very least. There are ways to dealing with bullies. It takes time to meet people who are real, who can truly be your friends. I'm not saying rush and go out there and meet random people who could be even more dangerous than your attackers are now in the present. But I'm saying there are things you can do. So here are several tips. Go to your car or the bathroom. If you go to your car, they might have told your boss that I saw him going to his car. He probably left already. Tell your boss, I haven't left. I'm still here. I just don't want to deal with him. That's all. I'm still here, and I came here to call you. I came here. I'm in my car. I parked XYZ, and I came here to call you to tell you what's going on. Because so and so is talking shit and they're getting dangerous, and I don't know what they're on. They're unpredictable. I don't know what they're going to do next. I'm genuinely afraid for my safety. And I will be sending an email. If your boss is a creep and he doesn't cover you, he doesn't protect you, that's why HR is there. You see what I mean? That's why HR is there. If HR doesn't protect you, you go up in the company, you start emailing regional vice presidents and then ultimately the CEO. But listen to me. You must respect the chain of command. Don't skip and go over anybody's head. Respect the chain of command. Every level. Don't skip levels and go over anybody's head. And if even the CEO doesn't protect you, go to the DOL, especially if it's an HR related matter. That's an employment violation. They could end up in lawsuits. That's why you go to the DOL, Department of Labor. And if your state Department of Labor doesn't defend you, and you know you are telling the truth and you know you have evidence, go to the US, the Federal Department of Labor in Washington. But keep going. Likewise, if you are a victim of police brutality, the police are acting way above their pay grade, but they're only city cops. But you know who could shut down their entire department? The feds, the FBI. So go to the FBI, maybe even the CIA or the Secret Service, maybe. But be careful who you talk about. Be careful how you deal with those people. I would say the FBI. Get the feds involved. Especially those little racist police departments in the South, in Georgia, in the Carolinas, in Alabama, who think they own that town. Show them they don't. Get the feds involved. There's an FBI field office in every city in America. So get the feds involved. Go to Washington. Go to the Oval Office if you have to. Go to the US Congress if you have to. I'm not kidding. Go to the US Congress if you have to. Have them testify before Congress. But respect the chain of command. But make sure you have dates, times, locations, and badge numbers. Names, surnames, and badge numbers. So say, for example, Officer Whipple, 12345 badge number. I was assaulted by Officer Whipple with the badge number 123456 on September 7th, 1941 at approximately 2 p.m., even though 1941 is nearly 100 years ago. So the statutes would have passed already. So, say for example, 2025, or 2019 or whenever it was, at 2 p.m. at the intersection of Western or not Western, I was going to say, Slauson and Figueroa in Los Angeles, California, I was assaulted at approximately 2 p.m. by Officer Whipple, for argument's sake. And you maintain the details. Very importantly, stick to your story and maintain the details. Very importantly. It's very important that you stick to your story. If you remember things, explain that I genuinely did not remember that detail and then add it. But don't change your story. Just add whatever you didn't remember. And someone somewhere who's independent of the people who are doing this to you, because there tends to be that old boys club and that nepotism involved in these people, and they protect each other. So if you're being railroaded, and you have no support group, get an independent source outside of their influence who is impartial to investigate. And you should get somewhere. The older you get, the more you go through life, the smarter you'll get. And the easier it is to deal with these people because they're everywhere. And you have to learn. Listen to me. Let me get comfortable for you. You have to learn how to deal with them because they are everywhere. Everywhere. And they have 1,000,001 bag of dirty tricks up their sleeves. You must learn their tricks and use it against them. This is not the time for crying or pity partying or any of those things. This is a time for war, and you must mobilize the troops for war and get comfortable with conflict and battle because you are soldiers. Soldiers! That is your support group. This show will be your support group. This program here on the internet will be your support group. Come to me for advice. Come to Uncle Frank for advice. I will help you. I will impart my knowledge on you. I will give you advice and tell you what to do. There's things you can do. Don't just sit there and play the victim card. Have a pity party. Oh, woe be unto me. Nobody likes me. They're always picking on me. Boo-hoo-hoo. No. That is the time. That is the time when you sing the song, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition so we'll all be free. That is a time to mobilize the troops for battle. Let me tell you something. I don't believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in God, but not Jesus. I'm not a Christian. I'm very spiritual, but I'm not a Christian. And not only do I not believe in Jesus Christ, I don't like some versions of how he's depicted as this soft guy who loves everybody. And that's not the truth. I don't like softy Jesus. I don't like Mr. Softy. I like the tough Jesus. I like the Jesus that said, "Who are my mother and brother?" Jesus, your mother and brother are outside waiting for you. Who are my mother and brother? Who are my mother and brother? I admire that version of him, but I dislike the Mr. Softy Guy version of him because the Mr. Softy Guy would cause people to be just as vulnerable as if they did not have a support group, which would make them vulnerable and susceptible to attack. But the version of him that said, the version of Jesus Christ who turned over the table of tax collectors and said, "Who are my mother and brother?" That guy, he is your support group. You should be like him. You should be exactly like him, even though I don't believe in him. You should be exactly like that guy because you know why? He's your support group and he would make you impermeable to attack versus susceptible to attack. That's who you should strive to be like, whether he's fictional or real or a fable tale or whatever he is. Be like that guy. Someone inspired him, right? Maybe not the actual Messiah, but someone inspired people to write about that character. He was the Batman and Superman and Robin and Justice League of that time period. He was the G.I. Joe and Kiefer Sutherland from 24 Hours, Jack Bauer of that time period. Him. Long before we had these comic books, you had mythical legends like King Arthur and Jesus Christ and Zeus and Bartholomew and all these guys. Pythagoras, I'm sorry. Pythagoras. Some are good, some are not so good, but they were long before we had comic books, we had mythical legends, and these guys were the superheroes of that time period. So strive to be like that guy. If you are under attack and you don't know what to do, ask the question, what do I do? If you are being railroaded on your job, go to HR. If they're defending your boss, go to the regional vice president. He will redirect you. And if you get nowhere, keep going up the chain of command until you get to the CEO. If you're a victim of police brutality, Or if you're the victim of a crime and police are defending your rapist or attacker, go to the FBI. Force those creepy cops who are defending your rapist to testify before the US Congress or the parliament of your country, whomever they may be. There go the airplane engine. The universe has spoken. The universe has spoken, folks. When someone's acting above their pay grade and they're covering up gross misconduct and abuse, and they're defending Klan men who are lynching African Americans in the South, or they're defending rapists and killers and murderers, go to the FBI. They might be racist too. They might be narcissists too. But on their level, they have to follow the rules because especially when they have evidence. When they have evidence, they have to follow the rules. They can't deny evidence on that level. And even if they are all of those things and they're wicked too, guess what? They're not a part of the old boys club that's protecting the interest of your local city. They don't know these guys, so they have no affinity towards protecting them because they don't know them. They have their own old boys club, but those guys on your local level are not a part of their old boys club. So they wouldn't, I mean, I'm not saying that they wouldn't. It's less likely that they would practice nepotism, that the feds, would practice nepotism with the guys, your local city cops, because they don't know them. They have their own old boys club. They don't know them like that. So you're more likely to get justice, and they're more likely to follow the rules. More likely. They may not even like you, but they have to follow the rules. They have to. When it gets to the court, level, the judicial level, the legislative level, or the federal level of any sort, you're more likely to get justice because there's more fairness and more impartiality because they don't know these people and they're not a part of the old boys club of the people who are subjugating you because they don't know them, and it's less likely that they practice nepotism with people they don't know. So you're more likely to get justice. Even if they don't like you, they have to follow the rules. See what I mean? There you go. Right? So let them be your support group, and you never know whom you might meet. You might meet a friend who end up having a really hot sister, and that friend end up becoming your in-law someday. You never know. Just go. Just do it already. You never know. The people who want to oppress you from your past, they're bullies. They're going to always tell you you're not going to reach nowhere. They're going to always tell you that. Don't listen to them. Test the waters for yourself. They want to discourage you. They have an incentive for discouraging you. But you have to be fearless. This is where you being fearless comes into play. You have to be fearless. Fearless enough to test the waters for your excuse me, for yourself, to see how far the influence can go. Let's test the extent of the influence and see who they can or can't bribe or pay off. Let's just see about that. Why don't we just see about that? At the same time, however, if you decide to go public, like the newspaper or podcasts, be careful how you call names. If you call names without their permission, they could sue you. You don't want them to sue you. Be very careful how you call names. Even the news editors will tell you, be very careful how you call names. They don't want their newspaper to get sued because of you. It is their responsibility to tell you whether or not you could call names. To consult with their lawyers, their corporate attorneys, to tell you whether or not you could call names. Call names. But I recommend you also embarrass them in the newspaper as well. Yeah, that's another tactic to counter another counter tactic to what they're trying to accomplish. Embarrass them in your newspapers or on podcasts. But don't call names. There are ways in which to expose them covertly. You can expose them covertly by dropping references and innuendos without calling their names. You can use up your locations, use your time, date, and location. But be careful how you call names. I'm not saying don't call names, I'm saying be careful how. And if you can't call names, or if you choose not to call names, use nicknames to ridicule them. Every single satirical cartoonist knows that. Use nicknames to ridicule them based on something physical that you know they're not proud of. For example, people often refer to Donald Trump's hair as a raccoon's tail, the tail of a raccoon. That's one good example. Pick on something hilarious about their physical appearance. And poke fun up at them for that, based on that. Anybody who is familiar with the situation, they will get it. They will understand exactly who you're talking about. And when they themselves see it, they will be exposed, embarrassed, ridiculed, and they can't even sue because it's not them. Take care of the ones who love you, but be a bad guy to the bad guy. Pray to God to send you a strong support group. Your enemies have a strong support group who defend them when they're doing something wrong. You need strong support groups to defend you when you are doing something right. How unfair is it? They have support for doing wrong and you have none for doing right. You need support group for doing right. Pray to God to help you meet some good friends. Travel, talk to people, interesting people from all over the world. Don't confine your circles, your social circles to just your local environment, because what if you're in a propaganda bubble and everybody is just brainwashed? You don't know that. That's why you should talk to everybody in the world. Love the best members of every race and every ethnicity. Love the best members of every race and every ethnicity and every gender and every age group. Be more like the hippies who are all about loving every race and creed. But unlike the hippies, however, don't include the bad members of every race. Only love the good ones. That's being practical. And that even includes your own race. That is the formula and blueprint for meeting some friends. Not just so you could have a strong support group, obviously, but also so that you can enjoy the social pleasantries and sharing ideas and getting stronger. As you share ideas, they have different backgrounds, they read different books. They will share something with you you would have never probably considered. And by them sharing it, you would then have gained the knowledge to defeat a situation that is unfavorable to you, that you no longer have to endure. There goes the jet engines again, folks, validating my point. Thank you, universe. So, love the best of every race. Listen to people, meet people, travel, listen to people's point of view. Being on a panel on one of these shows here is the best way to meet people and to exchange contact and to interact and to get to learn about other podcasts. Podcasts are very useful, better than commercial radio, I'm not gonna lie. Actually, better than commercial radio. Based on commercial radio, but better. They really step their game up and tweak some things around. So the dividends that we reap is far better than what we would get from being on commercial radio. So that's how you meet people. If you can't travel, you don't have a passport, that's you meet people on these shows. And then, or you read different books or something, and then you travel, you meet people, talk to people, and share ideas. You have a different outlook on life, and it might even expose, quite painfully at that, it might just expose the wrongful, misguided ideas that may have been fed to you to help program your mind when you were younger. But God will give you the strength to survive, and when you do, you will find happiness and you'll be happy. And you will have peace for the rest of your life. That's why I must talk to people. You know, people often say that people like us who are introverts, that we are socially awkward. We're antisocial. No, they're antisocial. Their behavior is antisocial. We are socially selective as a result of them being antisocial. They're antisocial. We are socially selective. You see the difference? Problem is, however, sometimes we're so embittered we think everybody's bad. No, everybody's not bad. We do have allies. We actually do have allies. So even though you're being socially selective and being careful, which you should, talk to people. If someone reveals that they're bad, cut them off. If not, keep going. But be careful. Don't just give them your whole entire house keys and car keys and wallet on day one. No. No, no, no. Give them a little bit and see how they handle that. Test people. Without making it obvious, of course, without being rude about it. That's being rude. Don't be rude. But test people. Give them a little bit here, see how they handle it. Give them more, see how they handle it. If I can trust you with a little, I can trust you with a lot. If I can trust you with a little, I can trust you with more because you're not greedy. See what I mean? Pray to God to help you to find some good friends. Like what happened to me, I found some good friends. And where I'm at right now, I'm happy. And you never know, you might go from being friends to in laws. And both of your kids end up being cousins, growing up in the same neighborhood, attending the same schools, and being best friends for life. And you just never know how life will turn out. People will not accept you into their group unless you have some kind of value or financial or social means by which to offer. Hopefully they will hopefully they find hopefully they will value you more for the latter than the former. And if you don't know what that value is, try and find it. Try and work on it. You may already have it and not even be aware of it. You never know what somebody might find valuable in you. You never know. So if you don't have any friends, become a better judge of character. Learn about what's normal. Become a better judge of character. And did you know that there's something called behavioral therapy? Some people don't know how to behave. They truly don't know how to behave. They were never taught properly. They were being abused themselves. They go out there in the world and they put a target on their head because people think, well, you must be really vulnerable and don't have any friends because of how you're acting. And nobody would ever like you or accept you based on how you're acting. And whether or not that's true, because you may have values you're not even aware of because people talk like that and you hear them talking like that, so you might honestly think you're this horrible person. But whether or not that's true, though, it's up to you whether or not you want behavioral therapy to teach you what's normal and show you how to act right. I recently heard about it. I'm going to do more research and find out the depth of behavioral therapy. But yes, that should be able to help you. And if you have a very good therapist, that therapist might be able to reveal to you so much more about yourself than you could have ever thought possible. And help you change your mindset to attract friends and allies and your support group. And you in turn support those who are your allies for the rest of your life. For the rest of your life. I already told you. Be a bad guy to the bad guy, but take care of those who love you. So while you are searching for a support group, you lend your support as well. And take care of those who love you. Lend your support to people who genuinely care about you. So if you know that if you know that someone cares about something, a hobby or interest that you don't really particularly care about, but it's not criminal or it's not bad, it's just something you just don't really care about, support them. You don't care, but bear through it. Not that you're obligated, don't be obligated, but bear through it and support them. And you might learn something about it and you might catch your interest in time. There might be hidden gems in there that you don't see on the surface level. That is really cool. So just give your support. You never know. You never know in life sometimes. Learn to recognize the voice of God. That would be the key to you leading in the right or heading in the right direction. Recognize the voice of God, not for somebody else's life. That's a counterproductive, distracting, or distractful waste of time. Learn to recognize the voice of God over your own life. It's a very unique sounding voice. You know the voice of your creator and you hear it. Understand that you're chosen. If you're chosen, your creator will not lead you into a trap. He wants the best for you. He would never tell you to do something that's bad for you or harmful towards you. So he will never lead you off a cliff. Learn to discern the voice of God over your own life. Not your brother's life or your wife's life or your girlfriend's life or your father's life. No, no, no. Your life. You. You. Be obedient to that voice and he will lead you in the right direction. Recognize when you have an opportunity. Recognize when you broke through a trial and you have an opportunity. Whether it's a business opportunity or a social opportunity or a romantic opportunity, even. Three of the most important opportunities that could come knocking throughout your lifetime. Recognize when you have one or the other, or all three. Be obedient to the voice of your creator who wants the best for you. Recognize the sound and be obedient to the voice of the creator, of your creator, who wants what's best for you. Satan will often try to impersonate the voice of God to fool you and lead you astray and to distract you. But you can tell by the energy, it doesn't have any genuine, fulfilling sense of love in it. It just sounds void. You know the difference. When you know the voice of God and the carbon copies show up, you can instantly tell the difference. Instantly. You know the fakes. Let me tell you a story before closing because we're short on time. So here it goes. When I was a young man in Brooklyn, I first left Jamaica and I first arrived in Brooklyn at 20 years old. Now, don't get me wrong, there are lots of nice girls in Brooklyn, but most of them are just very ghetto. You know those ghetto black girls in Brooklyn, man? Yeah, those ones. And that was normalized to me for a long time because that's all I was surrounded by for a long time. Until I go to Manhattan and I go to the bars and clubs and I see other races and other ethnicities and I get to see a difference. I get to see more diversity, people who are more well traveled. The traveling rub off on them, and that was the only exception to what I was exposed to. But for a long time, that's all I would see are the ghetto girls, the loud girls, the ratchet girls, the girls with attitude and sass, and they think that their sass made them look cute. No, it makes you look stupid, though. That's all I would see for a long time. A long time. So eventually, fast forward 10 years, I'm in Los Angeles at the age of 30. And I see those rude, ratchet ghetto girls, loud, obnoxious, for the first time in a long time. And because I'm no longer in it, the stench of her attitude was more potent and pungent than it otherwise was 10 years earlier when I was living in it. Do not live in shit to the point where it no longer stinks. That was the moral of that encounter with that young lady, that woman, like that girl in Los Angeles about 5 years ago. The first of a kind in a good 5 years or so. 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. And if I see, and I'm not saying that they're not decent, good black girls out there, of course they are. But for whatever reason, they're in the minority. It's the loud, ratchet, obnoxious ones I don't like. And they seem to be the majority. And they seem to be louder and up in your face more often. I don't get it. But anyhow, my point is that may have been a parable for me to draw comparisons. When the carbon copy tries to blend in, you can instantly smell the stink of its attitude. Its attitude is more instantly recognizable and instantly more pungent in odor than what it once was. Because you've been exposed to more now. You have more exposure now. You see more in the world now. So let that. I think I'm going to use that encounter to draw comparisons as to when it's the voice of God talking to you or Satan trying to mimic God to lead you astray and to distract you. Because when you're no longer living in shit, it actually fucking stinks. And when Satan tries to fool you by mimicking the voice of your creator, you will know it's a carbon copy. You instantly know it's fake because you can instantly smell the stench of its odor. And to recap today's show, the main points. If you're not getting anywhere, go up the chain of command without skipping levels until you get something satisfactory relating to your situation. Something satisfactory relating to your situation. Keep going up the chain of command. Don't stop. Go to the US Congress or the president if you have to. But if you got a problem and you're not getting anywhere on the mid-management or the HR level, keep going. If you're a victim of police brutality, call the FBI. Get the FBI involved to investigate the entire department as to why that old boys club is practicing so much nepotism and covering for each other. If you find yourself in the wilderness of your spirituality, God will not sick poisonous snakes on you. The snakes are already out there. It is for you to find cover and find a strong support group, or allow your creator to lead you to meeting your friends. Maybe even your in-laws, or maybe even your wife. Maybe. And if not, someone who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows a really hot chick who is your literal future wife. Literally. Who will make that girl who joined that bully group who try to make you feel like a clown look like the clown that she is. More often than not, they, the ones who are trying to clown you, are the clowns. But whatever you do, if you remember nothing else on this program, always remember this. If the clowns who are targeting you have a strong support group while doing wrong to you, a support group who defend them doing something wrong, then you need a support group to support you for doing something right. And that right there is the most pivotal importance of you having a strong support group. Next week's topic, the purpose of going through phases. I hope you join me then. I am Mr. Franklin. This has been Frank and Upfront.